Your next promotion is within your control, and this podcast shows you how to get there. Welcome to episode number 76. I am so excited to bring to you this interview today. As many of you know, I am a former improviser and I used to run a comedy theater in New York City. And one of the performers that I met when I was working there was Bob Wiltfong. You might remember him as the news correspondent on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. And more recently, he is the co-author of the BS Dictionary, Uncovering the Origins and True Meanings of Business Speak. So Bob sat down with me in this interview alongside his wife, Jill Wiltfong. Jill is the chief marketing officer at Korn Ferry, a global consulting and recruiting firm. And the two of them throw down some serious business wisdom and hilarious commentary in today's interview. You're absolutely going to love it. Let's get started.
Welcome to Maximize Your Career with Stacy Mayer, a podcast about achieving your career goals while also being yourself.
All right, let me introduce you guys so we don't skip that beautiful part. So Jill Wiltfong is a former TV news anchor who tired of that rat race and decided it was time to try something new. So she worked while earning her MBA and transitioned into the corporate world with stints in sales, strategy, innovation, and marketing. Today, Jill is the chief marketing officer of Korn Ferry, a $2 billion global business consulting and executive recruiting firm. And shall I call her a total corporate badass?
That's a better title.
Yeah. This is anybody who comes through my programs. It's just done, right? They're just a corporate badass from the beginning. It's what I'm doing. I'm changing the world one corporate badass at a time. And Bob Wiltfong is a former TV news anchor and reporter who won several Emmys during a career that took him from Lake Charles, Louisiana, to the number one market in the country, New York. He transitioned into a career in acting and comedy, where you may know him from his stint as a correspondent on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart and other various roles in TV and film. These days, Bob works primarily as a corporate consultant of presentation skills and has authored a best-selling book on Amazon called The BS Dictionary, Uncovering the Origins and True Meanings of Business Speak. Thank you both so much for being here with me today.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to see you again and reconnect. So this is a great excuse. Thanks, Stacy.
Yeah. And talk about the power of social media. So Bob wrote this BS dictionary, and, I don't see a ton of comedians on LinkedIn a lot. And, but Bob is the exception to this rule. He wrote this, I've got little, like my little Post-it notes in my book with all the funny things that if I had 2 hours, I would just tell you all the funny things, but maybe just read it. We could share some of it. Anyway, so on social, I would see him and his son, and they would actually read excerpts. Are you still doing that and sharing that on social media? Tell us a little bit about your show.
Yes. Rigby is our youngest son. Yeah. And the premise of those videos that I shared on social media, you probably saw on LinkedIn, was I asked him a phrase that's commonly used in the business world. And from his 12-year-old perspective, what does ROI mean, for example?
Yeah.
He guesses at what it is. And it's usually, best guess, but it's way off base, usually 12 years old.
Right.
And that's what we put online.
What inspired you to write this book?
This woman to my left right here, actually, the inspiration for is about 6 years ago, probably going on 7 years now.
Yeah.
Jill and I have known each other since we were in our mid-20s. And once she went back to business school, she gained this whole knowledge of business speak that I didn't, because I stayed out of business school. And she slowly but surely starts climbing up the corporate ladder and becomes more lingual or, able to speak this language. So one day, about 6 or 7 years ago, we're at home, working from home, and Jill and I had talked shortly before you got on this conference call. No problem. I understand her. She understands me. Then she gets on this conference call and she starts using terms that, Stacy, I've never heard before in my life. And I believe from that conversation, there was straw man that was thrown out there and tiger team. And what amazed me is her colleagues were fired back at her like complete knowledge. It was simpatico, And when she got off the phone, I was like, can you please tell me what the heck tiger team means? And straw man, she explained it. And as a comedian, I was like, oh, there's something interesting here.
Yeah.
So I started to compile a list just out of my own curiosity. And then fast forward about a year later, I'm doing a corporate consulting gig for T-Mobile in Seattle about presentation skills, public speaking. And during one of the breaks, I'm telling my students about this project. I've got this kicking around in my head. And one of the guys says, oh, I keep a list of all the BS we talk about here at T-Mobile. And he shared one of the phrases that's non-politically correct, but it makes the book, because it's still used in different corporate corners of America, is the tallest midget, which is a horrible phrase, but it's commonly used to describe the best selection out of a worst group of selections. And they'll say the tallest midget. So as soon as he said that to me, I was like, there should be a dictionary for this stuff.
Yeah.
And I bet you there's some really interesting origin stories. And so fast forward, I was fortunate enough to get a literary agent, and we shopped it around, and a publisher bought it, and we've now got it on the shelf. And it's done very well, surprisingly.
It's amazing.
Thanks.
It's a great gift. I work a lot with people internationally, and it's like the best book also for people who aren't from here. We have so many phrases we
Drinking
use.
The Kool-Aid.
Don't really make much sense. So.
Oh, I thought about it for my my clients who English is not their first language. A lot of times they talk about, Stacy, I'm really challenged about speaking up more because I honestly don't know what's going on in the room. And I think that as we move more towards inclusion and being able to understand other different types of personalities and different people and bring those skill sets to light, it's really important that we understand that not everybody speaks the same language that we do.
Yeah, I think it's important.
And I, the other discovery I made in researching this book, and it happened after I wrote the book, was a lot of the origins of our modern day business speak in America are rooted from white guys.
Yeah.
It's a lot of white guys that have formed the language that we speak in business. And so my wife, being one person who's navigating the world, you're able to speak not only like common English, but to speak this male-dominated kind of business speak. It's its own language, and it does require some knowledge to navigate.
Yeah.
Actually, this is making me think about something with that in terms of getting a promotion, getting promoted into senior executive leadership positions. A lot of the things that I work with people on are adapting some of this language, right? Really understanding but then including themselves in the process, right?
Yeah.
So that it's like we don't become the white male, just because that's the language, but how do we bring ourselves? Maybe Jill, maybe you could talk to that for a minute.
Yeah, it's funny. I think it's really important. I'm a super girly girl, right? So I wear high heels and dresses and tons of makeup and do my hair. Like that's just who I am. And it's always been interesting as I've kind of watched and, other people navigate their career. I've always had those moments where I pause and see other women dressing like the guys and, trying to fit in physical ways as well. And it's great if that's who you authentically are. But I've always struggled where I see people kind of really change who they are to kind of fit into this world. And what I love about your mention of inclusion and kind of this whole movement that's underway is this notion that they don't need another of those people in the room, right? Like you need different voices, you need different viewpoints. So I've always felt like it's really important that I'm authentically me. And I really embrace that and like that around the people that I'm around. I think it's really important that you kind of own the room, bring yourself into the room. Because we don't need a whole bunch of people trying to be like everybody else. That's the whole point of inclusion and diversity. You need those different voices.
How in the world did you have the courage to do that though? Right. So it's often we say this word authenticity and bring yourself, but how did you actually learn to do that? Or did it just come naturally? You're like, screw it. If I can't be myself, I don't want it.
So it's, I wish I could say, screw it, let's just, I think Bob will probably tell you, I'm probably more careful than most, and pretty astute around kind of, I don't know, politics and kind of what other people are handling.
Yeah.
I'm probably more aware than many of kind of what people can handle of my personality and kind of where they are in their mindset. So I think it's about timing. And I often see this with people that work with me, where I think there's something about just finding the right moment and the right place to authentically be yourself. That's really important too, because to me, you're running a marathon, right? It's not a sprint. And I do this all the time. I lose little battles along the way because I'm focused on, winning. Here's a big war analogy. This is probably in your book. I'm focused on winning the war. I always want to be true to myself, but it doesn't mean I have to be all of me all the time.
Yeah.
I think it's just that awareness of if you really want to, move the conversation and make things happen, you've got to do it in a way that people are going to respond to. And that's a lot about listening and understanding other people, understanding the moment and finding that moment. We'll talk about, it's like, you don't give your partner, sorry, Bob, but you don't give them sex tips, right? Like 10 seconds after you're done, right? Like you have the time to do it. You find a moment where the time has passed where you say, here's why I could lose a little more cuddling. Yeah. I think it's just finding the right moments to really, seed those ideas.
Absolutely. So as you kind of gathering, the book is both educational and hilarious. There's this other side, which is it allows you to question what it is that you're saying. So I'm going to give you an example of one of the ones that I read here, which was kudos, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I loved this, right? So you've got the definition. This is the standard definition. It says congratulations, honor, glory, or acclaim. Now the BS definition is I don't have anything of real value to give you, like money or a cool gift, like this BS dictionary. So maybe just saying this silly little word will suffice.
Right.
And I love that because it's like, look, we're walking around in this world and we'll be like, I give kudos. I give, praise. I always support my team and it's like, well, but are you really?
Yeah.
Are you actually supporting your team? Are you actually giving people the recognition? And as the receiver of that, so all of my clients are the receiver of the lack of recognition. Right. And so I think as the leaders at the top, it's really important to know, are we actually recognizing people in a way that truly values their voice, that truly allows them to shine and move up?
Yeah.
Yeah. You've had that debate ongoing in your current position because you have a large team of people and you're losing good people sometimes.
Yeah, it's hard. I think we often lose sight of the individual. So we've got this big movement at our firm right now called radically human. And this notion that to really be successful today, firms and leaders need to be radically human, not just human, but in a radical way, where you're incredibly authentic and empathetic and real and vulnerable. And I think that's a really important thing to do. But I think a piece of being really radically human is also really having one-to-one relationships. Because one person's idea of recognition is very different to someone else's. And I think the hardest thing is kind of keeping your eye out for the quiet ones, right? Who like just if I just keep my head down and I work hard, I will get recognized. And I almost seek those people out harder, right? Because you just don't want them to get lost in the mix. And maybe they don't want the, fireworks, right? But they still need recognition in their way. And I think this kind of radically human notion is just really trying to really authentically connect with people. And maybe that's part of what charm is too. It's really an authentic connection. It's not something trite. Charm is about, I'm endeared to you. I'm connected to you.
Yeah, there's empathy there. And the reality for us being parents now, as I realize now with our oldest especially, just saying kudos to him may be all he wants.
And that could be good enough, right? Yeah.
It could be good enough.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And the other part, which I think will be really valuable for this conversation today, is this idea of authenticity and owning your power. And as a woman, you're right to be the CMO.
Yeah.
Right. And that it's important for you. So tell me about this journey as a couple. And I know that you have gone back and forth and, one person's career was at the forefront and then the other person's career and back and forth. So tell me about this journey for you, Jill, into really claiming your authentic power and saying, okay, this is my time. I actually want to be in the C-suite.
Yeah.
That's my goal.
Yeah. It's like Bob said, I think all people are riddled with guilt, whether you have a dog and that's your dog baby, right? Or a parent or anyone else. So we're all kind of riddled with guilt. And that's the hard part. I think for me, it was this kind of acceptance. And this came around maybe 5 or 10 years ago where everyone struggled with this work-life balance. And I think people finally have thrown that out and said, it's work and life. It's a blend, right? And you just kind of seamlessly make it all happen. I think the best thing you can do is find people in your life who, just like you do when you're building a team, right? We're a team. Bob and I are a team. So just like when you're building a team, you have to figure out what your strengths are and what the people on your team's strengths are and try to balance that. I think once we figured out what each of our strengths were, is where we really started to gel. And I think when I could finally have that vulnerability to say, these are my weaknesses and where I really need help, that's what made it easier. And I think for you, it was kind of you stepping up to say, okay, part of your vulnerability is I'm a stay-at-home dad, right? Which is hard to say it was hard for me, for sure.
Yeah.
And kind of owning it and saying, oh, I can do this and I can be the one to take the kids to school so I can be on the conference calls. And
when you talk about guilt, I kind of had to revert. It's almost like shame. My thing, our general rule when we first got together and our professional rule of thumb, Stacy, when we started was whoever had the biggest job or best opportunity drove the car.
Yeah.
So we'd go wherever that opportunity was. About 10 years ago, it became very clear that Jill was driving the car. And there was really there was a decreasing chance the more we went on that I could keep up with her pace. She was just a rock star moving up very quickly. And that's great. That's wonderful. It's well-deserved and she deserves everything she's gotten. But that forced me into saying, okay, I'm not going to drive this car anymore. And I'm going to be a passenger here. And a passenger has a really valuable role too, but I've got to accept that's me now. And so part of my dilemma was I didn't visualize growing up that I would be this stay-at-home dad raising 3 kids. And so I had to wrestle with that and find the value in that. Now I'm on the other end of it. I realize there's no other more important job that I could do on this planet than help raise our kids. So I'm night and day different from when I was when we first started having kids and going through this. But I think that's been the balancing act is not only you, Jill, owning how specialized your ability is in the corporate world and embracing the opportunities that were given to you, but also me taking a step back away from what I thought I was going to do and say, to help this team, I think it's important for me to accept this other role. And so it's been this guilt shame thing that we're wrestling with, Stacy.
I think that's a really important note for everyone, right? Is it's knowing what you want and then asking for it. And that is sometimes really hard to do. But I think it's when I finally asked for help or at work, I have to ask for the pay raise, right? You have to ask for the promotion. People have to know what you want.
Yes.
because they can't read your mind, right?
I think Sheryl Sandberg talked about this back in the day, but it's like there is an assumption that women don't want to be promoted simply because there's an assumption that family is the most important thing. And of course, family is the most important thing, right? But it's so important as leaders to check our bias, right? But then also as the leader trying to rise, to understand that if you don't ask for it, there is an assumption that you don't want it. It's not obvious.
Yep.
It's not obvious.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So just as you were talking, it just struck me of like, oh my gosh, ask. You have to ask.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think, Stacy, to your earlier point about the performer, I think that's why the book writing is a nice outlet for me, because I feel like I still am feeding that part of me. I've always enjoyed writing. So to me, if the next 20 years of my life is writing books creatively, that's wonderful.
Amazing.
That's just as joyful to me as being in my 20s or early 30s on an improv stage.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the work that you're doing, Bob, in corporate trainings.
Yeah, as to connect dots here, as you mentioned, I started off in TV news, right? I was a reporter and anchor. That's where Jill and I met. That's where she started as well. And when we landed in New York, Jill got out of TV news, got an MBA, and started working in the business world. One of her first jobs in the business world was for a company called Communispon that happens to be one of the leaders, probably still is, in corporate consulting work for presentation skills or public speaking. And so when she got on board there, they were looking for young, capable instructors. And I was looking for a little extra cash.
Hello.
Right. And so she said, if you want to, you can probably teach freelance on the side for this company while you're doing your TV news stuff. And then it became the acting stuff. So I started about 20 plus years ago. When we first met, Stacy, that's how I paid a lot of my bills and still, get extra income today on, is I go into corporations and teach them how to do public speaking without, soiling themselves.
Yeah, we really don't want that. Even on Zoom, it's like, you can tell.
Jerry Seinfeld has a great joke, and this is why I get paid to do what I do, is that at a funeral, he'd rather be the guy in the casket than the one giving the eulogy. And that's because, still to this day, there's a great majority of people that public speaking is a reoccurring fear, and it causes a lot of anxiety. And, whether it's good or bad in today's world, you've got to do a lot of presenting to be a business person.
Yeah.
And what it's segued into now over the last year or so with the pandemic now, and we're visiting in this same format, is webcam presentations. So because of my background in TV news and as an actor and also this corporate consulting work, I've been busier than I probably have ever been in the last year, teaching corporate people how to present now on webcam and how not to soil themselves there.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Can you share with us any behind the scenes or any stories?
Yeah. It's funny. You see this when you visit with your own family. It always amazes me how foreign it is to some people. Like the concept of having a camera in front of them just throws them off. So I noticed this even with my own mother, who's in Texas. When I Zoom with her, she'll put her face in like the lower third corner of the frame, or she'll have her thumb over the camera. And I'm just, Mom, I can't see you, And so, part of my class is when I teach people some of this basic stuff of like, please put yourself up, center in the frame. Please don't put that, huge window behind you. How about you face it?
Yeah.
For eye contact, one of the little gems I give to people is like, especially if you're doing a big presentation with a number of people with slides, is make your key takeaways, have the eye contact with the webcam rather than talking to the screen. Just because that's where the audience is going to look, is to your webcam for those things. And that goes against our human nature. We want to look at the faces on our screen rather than looking at what the audience wants to see. So those are little things that I'm teaching people all the time now, just basic stuff. In my mind, it's basic, but once you give it to people, they're like, oh my God, I never thought about this.
Yeah.
So thank you.
And kudos to Jill. When we first set up the video camera, you can't see them, but both Bob and Jill are sharing the screen. Jill actually took the stage. She has the big chair. She was actually a little bit more towards the center of the screen. And so kudos to you for owning the screen. And then Bob had to kind of be like, let's shift this a little bit so we can see both of us. But
to put a finer point on it, I'm taller when I sit down with Jill. And so I kept adjusting our laptop to give me a little bit of headroom. I was getting cut off.
And I'm like, Jill
kept immediately. Because she didn't realize, there's another human being in this shot. So.
I love it. So, Jill, I have a question for you. Why do you personally want to have a seat at the table?
I've just always wanted to make a difference, right? I can remember in college, one of the assignments we had was to write our own eulogy or whatever would go on our tombstone, I think was the assignment. And I wrote, she wanted to change the world. She wanted to make a difference. She didn't change the world, but she did make a difference, was my statement. And I've really always really wanted to make a difference. And the only way to really do that is to have a voice. So I think it's just always been in me that it's important to be there. And it's been interesting as I've gotten to where I'm at. I guess maybe I don't even really appreciate where I'm at because it's a team sport, right? I mean, the business world is a team sport. We even just recently changed. We don't call each other managers on our team. We have guardians, right? You're like the guardian of the team, and you kind of oversee, and you're there to kind of remove barriers for people and help them, remove obstacles and that sort of thing. But you're just kind of the guardian overseeing this group. There are times I'm working for other people and they're working for me. I just happen to be the guardian of this marketing department right now. So I think you can lead in different ways. I don't think you have to be at the table, but I think everyone should strive to contribute in big ways. Mm-hmm. And however that is, they should find it. For me, I like to be there, and I like the responsibility of kind of representing others because I guess I appreciate how important that is. Mm-hmm. And I want to be there so that I can make sure the right people get their names recognized and their work recognized. And if I'm there, I can see it happen.
Anything you're particularly proud of? Like one thing that came to mind when you said your eulogy, she wanted to make a difference. And then you said she is, but I want to know, like, you are. Like, when I look at you, I'm like, you are, right? You are making a difference. You're making a difference to our audience. You're making a difference to this family, to the world. And then you're in executive recruiting. So you're making a difference to other executives. I mean, it's just incredible. So do you have a story that you could share with us something you're particularly proud of that you've done and accomplished in the last year or so?
Many moments, right? Where the kids are wide-eyed and looking up and like, Mom, why do you have to go to work? And why can't you be here with me? And I really need a really important reason to leave this house every day and to go to work every day and not just be with them. So purpose is super, super important. I think what I've helped to do is organize a team and organize people that are focused on purpose, supportive of each other, really doing our best to be inclusive. We fail every day, right? It's so hard, but we're doing the best we can. And I think, just creating that kind of sense of family and camaraderie in the office is probably the most important work I've done.
And
right.
Can I share one thing that I saw you that I was super proud of, and maybe this will ring a bell for you. Within the last year, the George Floyd thing happens, right? We become totally aware of things that have been there the whole time that we've never acknowledged. And the thing I saw from an outside perspective is how valuable you were in the conversation of your own company, being the only woman in the C-suite at that company, and being like, yes, let's be on the forefront of this and let's get better as a company. And you brought back, I don't know your colleague's name, but you brought back somebody who would have retired that was a perfect fit for your diversity effort.
Oh, yeah.
And that was, at least from my perspective, was a lot of you as a woman and representing a minority point of view in that boardroom of like, hey, this is important. And I know that the guy came back to that job. The feedback he gave to you was he wouldn't do it for anybody else but you.
Oh yeah. It makes me want to cry even thinking about it.
Because he trusted that you got him and that he could help other people.
Yeah.
And I think that's, one of the crossroad moments I feel like from corporate America in the wake of George Floyd is, do you embrace this or you try to deny it?
Yeah.
And I think you guys took the road of like, no, we're going to embrace this.
Yeah.
And we're going to acknowledge that we have a lot of stuff we still need to fix and it's going to take a long time, but we're going to acknowledge it and try to get better.
Yeah. That's really sweet. I think at the end of the day, it just gets down to one person at a time, right? And making a connection with them and knowing what's important to them. And I've been really fortunate to have people that have opened up to me, and I think I've been able to clear a path for them and help their dreams come true.
And what I'm excited about is being in that room. You can change the culture from inside rather than trying to be outside bombing it.
Yeah, 100%. This also reminds me of, I met a woman many, many years ago in my work with women's leadership. And she said that she kept a smile file. And if anybody's listening to this conversation and they're like, I know I've done like a lot of really amazing things, and I wish I could think of it right now, and these sort of things, it's like, get a Bob, it doesn't have to be your husband. It could be anybody at work, and just say, what is a difference that you think I made this year? Because did you guys just hear that story? I mean, and I think Jill actually was a little bit in tears. And to just remind ourselves of the work that we're really doing. I mean, you talk about purpose, and there is a reason that you're doing this work. And it's just so incredible and such a great reminder that it's bigger. It's really bigger than ourselves, right? We started out with this idea of scarcity and abundance mindset. It is. So having Jill Wiltfong at the table is a really freaking big deal. And I'm super glad you're there.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
I agree with that 100% too.
That's nice. Well, we need to create work that works for everyone.
Yeah.
Right? We can do it. We just all have to do our part.
So speaking of work that works for everyone, any advice that you would give to a corporate leader that's trying to rise in their career, trying to have that voice at the table, unable to get the recognition that they feel like they deserve? What would be your advice for them?
For me, I would say definitely know where you want to go. It's really important to have someone help you figure out where you want to go. Then you have to let everybody know where you're going. Everyone needs to know where you're going, because you have no idea where that opportunity will happen. And it's happened to me. I run marketing, and I've had people that I mentor say, my dream job is over here in IT. And how would I know, except that in some conversation, I may hear something and then connect the two of you and you're off and running. So know where you want to go, tell everyone who will listen where that is. And then I would say, when you hit a barrier, you don't always have to keep plowing through it, right? Like pivot, the door's closed, find a window. But I think certainly in my career, right, there were many, many roadblocks. And I think what worked for me is I always talk about, I feel like I'm a shark. I just never stop moving, right? Like inertia is the enemy. I don't spend my time on the negative people or the blockers ever. I just bounce off, I move around, and I find influencers elsewhere.
That's her superhero.
That is amazing. Yeah.
That to me, Stacy, I couldn't do what she does, because when I hit those people, I can't get out of it.
I was going to say, you just hit them harder. Keep going. Keep going.
Just keep hitting them harder. But you have the patience, the ability, the foresight to just navigate those people. And
and maybe the stubbornness, but it gets back to you want to win the battle, right?
I love it.
Right? And it's like bounce off, keep moving, but don't ever stop. And but most important is you have to know where you want to go. And it doesn't have to be the end destination, just the next step, right? Because who knows where that end destination is.
Stacy, this is part of the conversation we're having with our kids that ties into this is, our kids are at an age now where they're starting to think, what do I want to do? Right? What do I want to do professionally? And we have two experiences in our family that we struggle with. One is me, the dreamer, who's followed his dream, right? I followed my dream and I got paid periodically, but for the most part, as you know, acting is largely unemployment interrupted periodically by work, right?
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Jill struggled, man. She had jobs where she's like, I really don't like this job. I don't like what I'm doing with my life professionally. And now you're in a good space. But she's had to put some of her personal dreams in the backseat for the gain of our family. So what is the message we give our kids? And what we've talked about is try to find what you love to do, define what you love to do, and then try to intersect it with what people will actually pay you to do. And so it's this whole adage of like, when you're a parent, you're told, oh, tell them, dream big.
Yeah.
I think ours is dream big, but always realize that dream may not pay you, and that may impact, your life quality. So that's kind of the conversations we have with our own kids and even ourselves. We have to remind
for sure.
Yeah.
So what's next for you guys? Can you share with us anything that's on the horizon?
Summer break, man.
We're big travelers. We really love to travel, and the kids love to travel. So I think that's been tough for us is not being able to get out of the house.
Yeah.
From a career perspective, what's next? What's next for you?
Career perspective, I would love to write a follow-up to this BS Dictionary.
Me too. I would love that if you did that.
Good. Yeah, please share it on Amazon and everywhere else you can share it. But just an indication, my co-author and I, Tim Ito, is a lovely man who I was very fortunate to write the book with. We have a working list of other BS terms that didn't make this first edition, and it's about 1,000 terms right now.
Oh, wow. It's amazing.
So we've got plenty of ammunition in the chamber, if you will. And so that would be very exciting to me. The corporate consulting work, I enjoy the work. So that would be, if that's all I do for the next 10 years, that's a good life.
Yeah.
I love it.
How about you professionally? Anything?
Yeah, for me, I want to continue to give you more fodder for your BS.
Okay, good. She's doing it on a weekly basis. There's always new terms. For me,
we're always trying to grow. So for me, I think I just want to further kind of establish my voice, but I also want to not be the only woman in the room.
Yes.
So I want to, when I leave this firm, I want to leave it more colorful than it was when I got there. So I am feverishly trying to champion others and get them in that room with me and make it a big, diverse, happy party.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah.
I'm applauding that. 100%.
Absolutely. I have more men in my world these days who are applauding my mission as well. And it's really exciting. Where can we find you if we want to connect with you or follow you? What's a good place? And I'll link to this on the show notes and also the book as well. So
thanks, Stacy. Yeah, LinkedIn is a good place professionally for us both.
Yeah, both. LinkedIn, Jill Wiltfong, Bob Wiltfong, happy to take connections with people and help however we can, right? I think we've all got to reach out and lend a hand and pull each other up. And anything I can do to help people out, I'm happy to help.
Yeah, I'm very appreciative for you guys to be here today and spend your time with me.
Likewise, Stacy.
Any final words before we head out for the day?
Just yes and. I think we live in a world where, I'll go back to that. We have this common genealogy, if you will, with Stacy and I with improv, is the concept of yes and has a lot of power in it. And that comes with women or minorities in the workplace of yes and everything that comes to you and try to build up people rather than trying to find ways to tear them down and bring diversity to the workplace. And I would just challenge all your listeners to think of yes anding more and nobody less.
I like that. And then I actually have told a couple people recently not to, detract from what you suggested. No, and because, a lot of my clients have trouble saying yes to too much. So I'm like, but it's always about the and, right? Like, what am I going to do instead? Like, what are you saying yes to with your no?
Yeah,
Stacy, I'm so glad you said that because that's something we've talked about is there is a real value in saying no too. And yes, you're absolutely right.
But you have to, it's not no, but it's no and no. And what am I saying yes to? I love that.
That's a very good note. I like it.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, thank you.
We're learning too. It's perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Before you go, I want to make sure you've downloaded my free promotion roadmap. This 7-step guide gives you the exact process that I walk each and every one of my clients through to get them the recognition that they deserve. You can download it for free at stacymayer.com/roadmap. That's STACYMAYER.com/roadmap.